I'm Cameron, and I don't just read comics, I love them. Welcome back to another episode of Cameron Reads Comics. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Batman the Night #1 by Chip Zdarsky and Carmine Di Giandomenico. Okay, let's just get into it. So first, you guys need to know that I'm a huge Chip Zdarsky fan. I love him, and so when this series was announced, I knew it was something I was going to want to read. Especially like you guys, if you have not read Chip Zdarsky on Batman, go check out Batman Urban Legends issues #1 through 6. His Jason Todd arc was actually what I thought to be like the best Jason Todd arc I've ever read. When it was announced that this title was coming out, I was like, yeah, no, you don't need to twist my arm. You don't need to tell me anything more. Chip Zdarsky on Batman. It's almost like he's fulfilling this like Frank Miller journey. Oh my gosh, this is even deeper. Okay, so Frank Miller reinvented Daredevil, obviously, as we know, my favorite run of all time. Then he comes on to Batman. He does Batman Year One. He does Dark Knight Returns, just like crushes it. And so now, here we are with freaking Chip Zdarsky doing a Batman origin story-esque. And here we go. His true Frank Miller transformation is happening as he's currently writing Daredevil. Come on. Okay, so also about the artist, Carmine Di Giandomenico, I'm 100% sure he was the early artist on Flash Rebirth written by Joshua Williamson. So there you go, some context. Maybe you guys have read that. I think he was the artist during the Godspeed arc. So I've read his stuff before. I like his art, but it's funny because I don't think he wouldn't have been my first choice for this book. And that's not to say like I don't like his art. It's just like, oh wow, like based on his Flash stuff, I'm really excited to see what he does with the darker tone. And so, yeah, I like his art a lot. I think it's so dynamic, but it was an interesting choice for something like this. You know, usually I'd picture a lot of John Paul Leon art. I know he is unfortunately passed, but George Fornes, like stuff like that. Like a David Macabuki-esque to really make the transformation complete. But we got Carmine, and I'm actually really looking forward to... spoiler warning, I loved his art in this issue, and so that being the case, moving forward, I think I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. In a world of where I complained about so many Batman titles being churned out by one publisher, I wanted to let you guys know that this is something I'm actually like... I'm glad we have this one. I'm glad we have this Batman title because I feel like this is the first time in a long time where Batman has been in uncharted territory. They have done so many things to the character, but you know, even where this issue picks up, I feel like we've never seen those. I've never seen that scene, which is, it picks up right after the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne, where Alfred and Bruce are walking out of the police station, going back to Wayne Manor on the worst night of Bruce's life. I was like, we've never seen that before. And so the story goes through Bruce being upset and trying to find outlets, because it's not like, oh, I'm just going to become Batman. It's a journey on how he becomes Batman. And like, it's all just uncharted territory, and we're interacting with Gotham in ways that I thought we never have. It's just a view of Batman, or more appropriately, it's a view of Bruce that we've never seen before. This is Bruce before the Bat. This is, it's very compelling. Zdarsky, most of this issue takes place when he's 18, interacting with other students in Gotham Academy. He sees a bully shortly after his parents' death, obviously, on campus at Gotham Academy, and he just loses his mind. He gets in a lot of fights, and like one of the biggest things that they mention is like, Bruce, how come there's scars on your knuckles? One of the things that stuck out to me the absolute most was Zdarsky's understanding of Alfred. And I think I'd say the two most important supporting characters in any Batman story are Alfred and Commissioner Gordon. And so in this issue, Zdarsky really shows his appreciation and understanding of Alfred. Who is Alfred to Bruce, and there's a lot of people who can't talk to Bruce a certain way. You know, Robin can't like emotively, or morally check Bruce, but Alfred can. Alfred's the closest thing Bruce has to a father, if anything. Like, Bruce has had more meaningful, fatherly relational moments with Alfred than he had with his actual dad, because Bruce's parents And I don't mean to sound bleak, but Bruce's parents served one purpose, and that was to die and shape him into who he was. They were in action, and so all the hindsights that we have, all the flashbacks we have to Bruce's parents were just like them being perfect people, which is wonderful. But for when it actually comes to Bruce's upbringing, Alfred is the perfect father figure to him. We see the ups and the downs and the true kind of familial narrative that happens within their relationship. One thing also that I think that was the one that stuck out the most to me is Bruce and Alfred's relationship, because it shows him when he's 10 and Alfred trying to hone him in, like giving him outlets in boxing and other classes and reading. I feel like I've never seen Bruce read a book. Well, not that that'd make for very interesting comics, but like Alfred trying to sharpen Bruce's mind instead of like the way Bruce only wants to sharpen his body, I thought was so interesting. So Alfred takes out all the books in the family library and he says to Bruce, we will fill this, we are going to fill this library again, with books you have read, which I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. I'm like, if I had one of those, it'd all be comic books. There's a moment, okay, so Bruce joins an underground fighting ring at age 18, so it kind of skips to when he's in high school, which is the best, we don't need to see Bruce going through grade school. I think the little point that he made, Zdarsky made about Bruce getting in fights and not liking bullies, it all checks out. Pretty much Bruce gets busted by the cops in an underground fighting ring because that's how he thinks he can be of use. And Alfred picks him up from the police station and just freaking reams him. He gets in the car, but it's like it exemplifies their relationship. Alfred said, you are trying to go to war when so many people have fought and won so that you wouldn't have to. Alfred understands the big picture of what Bruce is going to mean to Gotham from the Wayne family perspective, the legacy of his friends. And I just adored that. I love that. And they replicated this scene of them walking out of the police station that they started the issue with in that moment. And I thought it was perfect. I don't want to spoil that detail because it was so freaking good. There's also, super importantly, the inclusion of Hugo Strange, which, if you know who that is one of Batman's earliest villains. And he's a psychiatrist that really messes with Bruce. And there's a whole arc of Bruce being a young, vulnerable man. There's no Batman for him to, let out his rage. So Bruce is just a very dark kid. He's just a grump, as per usual. But there's a whole arc with Dr. Strange that Bruce has. And it's really, really interesting. So that's what you have to look forward to in this issue. When it comes to the art, the artist does a really, really, really wonderful job of like inking the pages darkly, and like the pencils and the page layouts I thought were so good. One thing I really respect about this collaborative team, and I think Zdarsky as a writer, is artists always know how many words are really supposed to be on the page, and then they understand what artists can do narratively to push the story along. There's not more words on the page than need to be there. So I just really freaking adored that, and you see that. So this artist Carmine Di Giandomenico does a wonderful job of kind of using the blank space and really weaving the narrative well and telling time within the story. I thought it was really, really good. Really liked his art, and I'm excited to see him moving forward, especially as, Bruce travels far and wide in this story. Now, for the review, am I going to pick up issue number 2? I think the answer is obvious. I'm obviously going to pick up issue number 2. I love Chip Zdarsky. I love his Batman, love his Daredevil. It's a no-brainer for me to go pick up this series. So really, really, really excited. I thought it was really great. Hey, if you've read Batman the Night #1 or are currently reading the series as it's coming out, drop a comment. Tell me what you think. I'd love to know, and I'd love to chat about it. Make sure to clap those like and subscribe buttons, and maybe check out my podcast, Cameron Reads Comics. I will see you guys next time.